Is it counting down? Good. And you're starting with the 5-pen. Welcome to our monthly online long arm and sit down and stand up machine quilting guild. You are in the Quilted Joy Clubhouse, and I'm so glad to have you join us. I've got a lot of stuff planned for you today that I think you're going to enjoy, so let's get started. One thing I did want to let you know is that we do have a newsletter that you might be interested in. It has announcements, and it has announcements about classes and events and other things going on with Quilted Joy, so I encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. You can find that link in the description, but you'll get lots of information about upcoming items for Quilted Joy. So today's program for our meeting is all about half square triangles, and we're going to look at different ways to quilt a half square triangle. And what I've got for you is a downloadable worksheet that you can get and print on your printer, and then you can draw right on the paper and kind of practice some of the designs that we're going to talk about today. So that's a free download for the next month, and you can find that over on Quilted Joy. If you just do a search in the product search bar for half square triangle, you'll find it. So it's a $0 item product. You'll put it in your cart, you'll check out, and then you can download that half square triangle worksheet and work right alongside me. So I've got the worksheet on my computer, and so we're going to draw first and kind of look at these designs on the computer. So if you take a look, I've got some smaller half square triangles and some bigger half square triangles. And so I'm going to draw on these, and you may have heard of E's and L's. It's a pretty easy, common beginner item. And so I'm just going to put that in the half square triangle. So there's an E, an L, and an E, and now I back up. Now I could have different items on each side of this half square triangle. So something here that's different than something on this side. It kind of depends on the fabric and the design, but I'm going to go ahead and this time just put the same thing on the opposite side. So again, E, L, E, and into the corner. It makes a nice little block. Let's look at a different item. Let's go up here to this smaller half square triangle. And this time I'm going to start in the corner, and I'm going to do just a loop like a cursive letter E, and then go down into the corner, come up, do cursive letter E, and go up in this corner. And again, that's a nice, easy beginner way to treat a half square triangle. On the other side, let's look at something different. Let's do just a arc, a little bunny hop into that corner, and then I'm just going to put a little curl here. So I'm going to go all the way in, almost like I'm making an entire circle. You see how I could keep on going, and I could close the circle off and make an actual circle. Just before I'm going to do that, though, I'm going to come back out and return to my base, and then I'm just going to do that little bunny hop back out. So you wouldn't necessarily combine these together. I'm just trying to give you as many little ideas as possible. If you are a more experienced quilter and you are playing with feathers, you could also do a feather plume and use this diagonal line here as your spine. I'm just going to do a curl and a plume, and a curl and a plume, and one final plume out. And then for this other side, I'm going to do that same little bunny hop, but this time I'm going to go it back. Bunny hop, bunny hop. So just to give you some different ideas, I do want to show you the fun one I was playing with earlier. It is for Christmas. So I'm going to put a holly leaf, and I'm going to use that diagonal line of my half square triangle as the vein of my holly leaf. So I'm just going to do a little scoop up to the point, swirl back down, and a little scoop, and there's my holly leaf. So that would be fun for them if they were all lined up. Give you some ideas, and I'm going to do a modern one as well. But for this one, I'm going to swirl in almost like I'm making a whole circle. See how I can make a whole circle if I kept on going? And just before I do, I'm going to kick out, cross over, and exit up. It puts a little, I call it like a comma paisley. That's a really interesting shape to me. I use it quite often. let's go and do it on this side. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so again, almost like I'm making a whole circle. Just before I complete it, I'm going to kick out, cross over, and come up here, and I'm just going to do a little dip in, almost like a little V, and head back down to where I started, and then I'm going to exit out here. And this last one I want to show you is going to be a modern design. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do kind of some zigzaggy Z's. So I'm going to go in and my mic on.
Oh my goodness, my mic wasn't on. Oh goodness. All right, thank you for whoever reminded me to turn my mic on. How about that? Live 101. Turn the mic on. Okay, so I'm going to go in there. I'm going to go up, down, in, and back out. Let's do the same thing over here. So I'm going to go in, down. I'm going to head towards the center. Echo out. And that would be kind of a modern, fun way to do a half square triangle. So let's stitch some of these out. I'm going to go over here to the machine, and I've got some smaller half square triangles. So let's start with that first E's and L's that we were doing before. And by the way, I am going to do this in manual mode. And so that kind of helps the camera be able to see. Normally I would do this in stitch regulation mode. All right, so let's do our E's and our L's. So I'm going to go E, L, E, and out. Repeat it on this side. L, E, and out. Awesome. Now I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to do the next one, and that was that was the E into the corner. So I'm going to go E into the corner, E, and out. And the other side was the bunny hop with the swirl. So I'm going to do a bunny hop in, swirl, return, and a bunny hop. And then I'm just going to kind of sneak up here to the next one. If you were doing this and it was all in a row, you would find a continuous path, but I'm trying to show you as many as I can. And so I haven't worried about a continuous path on these. All right, let's do some feathers. So I need a plume and a curl and a plume and a curl and a plume and a curl, and then I'm just going to plume it out, and then I'm going to do that bunny hop to this corner, bunny hop, and I'm going to echo back so you can see how that looks. And then here I am at this top corner. I need to get over to make my little holly leaf, so I'm just going to do like a little E there, and now I'm going to do my little holly leaf up, swirl down, and a holly leaf, and there's my little Christmas half square triangle. All right, so let's take a look at some of those larger half square triangles and stitch out those designs that we looked at before. So I've got my larger ones here. I'm going to start down here in the corner again, and I'm going to do that where I swirl in. Just before I complete the circle, I kick back out, and then I cross over myself and head back up into the corner. For this next one is that second where I turn it upside down. So I'm going to go to that circle, kick out, cross over, come up, head back down, and go over here. All right, we're ready for the last one, and that is our kind of more modern Z. I'm going to go over and up, and I just want to kind of echo into the center of my block so that I leave myself room to get out. So there, I've hit that side. Let's do the opposite side. Oh, looks like I ran out of bobbin. Hold on just a second. Put a bigger bobbin in there. And going upside down, sometimes the first time you do these upside down, if you kind of draw it out, you can see it a little bit better. So let me just bring that bobbin thread back up to the top. All right, let's keep going. All right, so I'm just going to stop the machine because I want you guys to see how that looks stitched out. And like I said, I did that in manual mode in hopes that the camera could see it a little bit better. So there's the kind of more modern block, and there's the other big block with those comma swirls. I don't know really what to call it. I don't know that there's an official name to call them anything, but hopefully that helps you. Do download that worksheet, and then you can draw those out. And I really recommend you draw first. Doesn't mean you have to draw well, but draw first and then take it to the machine. If I can't draw it, I can't stitch it, and I don't have to draw it well. I wanted to thank our sponsor, APQS. They handcraft all their machines in Iowa, and they are loved the world over, and they do come with a lifetime warranty. So if you're looking for a long arm machine, contact your local APQS store or APQS dealer and get some more information about our long arm machines. All right, so we are going to do a looky-loo session
with Joanna Dickout, and I need to flip over to get to her and turn her up. Hey, Joanna.
Hi, Angela.
Hi. Let me introduce you to everybody. So Joanna has been quilting for 20 years and long arm quilting for 12. She says that she grew her skills by taking simple classes, learning by doing, and watching a mountain of YouTube videos.
Of course.
Sounds about right. So Joanna quilts for others, and I am so thankful that you allowed us to take a tour of your studio, Joanna, and be a little nosy.
I am super excited to share my studio, although I have 2 rooms to share.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so turn the camera around because we want to see what room we're in right now.
Okay.
So we are in, that looks like a
it's
long
my front bedroom, but I call it my quilting room. And I have a Freddie. And I have a quilt-in.
Awesome. So this was a bedroom.
This was the nursery of all my 4 kids. And
awesome.
My 4 kids, all but one, have moved out, and now I got to claim it for myself.
Okay, so I see the long arm. Yeah, give us a tour around there. I love that pinwheel quilt. Is that just in some kind of window frame?
We live on an old farmhouse, and there was an old hay barn that we tore down, and I found those window pane frames. They're all wooden, and I ended up Pinteresting it, and it was an old cheater cutter-up quilt that I put behind it.
That is so beautiful.
And there's no glass in it. It's just the quilt.
Love it. All right, and then you've got a quilt rack. I see it says Mom.
Yeah, my son did that for me. The quilt ladder is from an antique store, and then I picked up some quilts and hung them on there. And my goal was to try to get some sound barrier in this room because I have a lot of echoing in this room. And because on the other side of this door is my living room. And when I want to sew and quilt in the evening, my husband's like, you're kind of loud.
Right. Right. Awesome. So that's where you do your long arm quilting. And now you have a separate room for piecing?
Yes, I do. Let me take.
Okay, we totally want to see that. You're going to flip the camera around.
I'm gonna see me.
We get to see the whole house, Joanna.
We'll let you see the good stuff. How's that?
Okay. All right.
Okay. So this is my well, here. This is the door that you saw in my living room or in my quilting room. I have it covered with another ladder that was custom made that I put my quilts on. So that kind of gives me a sound barrier between me and my husband. I walk out here, and then I have this little porch area that I turned into my quilt room. This used to be my kids' playroom back in the day. Now I reclaimed it.
Perfect.
So I have an embroidery machine.
Awesome.
I used to, I have a heat press.
Yeah, you have a fancy dress for when you want to party.
Well, that's a dress for my son's wedding this summer, and I'm altering.
Oh, fantastic! Congratulations.
A little cabinet. And then over here is the other end where I have a big 8-foot table with my sewing machine.
Perfect.
Some cabinets at the end. I have one of those ironing boards with a tabletop like you did show last month.
Yeah. And then you have all your fabric in the cubbies?
That's just a small stash.
Okay, I was going to say, Joanna, I don't believe that's all your fabric.
No, it's not.
So you got your stash in other places.
I'm ashamed to show you my other stash.
That's all right.
Downstairs.
We won't be that nosy. We won't be that nosy. No. We'll just be a little bit nosy. Well, Joanna, I had a few questions For you. Um,
Okay.
what advice would you give to a new long arm quilter?
Well, when I had bought a long arm from the local shop here about 12 years ago, and I used it, and I needed a new one, and I was able to get a new one. So I did my research. I went looking. I asked my friends, and then I found you because I knew about the APQS, and I recommend that you do your research. You find out what other people use, the pros and cons, and then making sure that whatever you buy, you make sure there's service for it somewhere close.
Awesome. All right. And then I wanted to know what you loved about your quilting space.
That I have adequate room for everything I
Yeah,
have.
you are. You're very blessed that way.
Yeah, I would love to have my own building somewhere here on my farm, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, but yeah, I even downsized some because I used to do vinyl and used to do the cutouts for shirt designs and stuff, and I finally had to cut that down and just concentrate on my quilting and my sewing skills and all that good fun.
Good. All right. So, what three recommendations would you give us? What three not necessarily quilting oriented, but just what three kind of life recommendations would you give for us?
First of all, make room for your little doggies. I have a little Yorkie. He's outside right now because he was a little excited, so I let him go outside. My other two recommendations is that, and it's sewing related, of course, but I like my technology with me. So I have my earphones, I have my audible.com, I have my iPad to watch some videos while I'm sewing. My other recommendation is if you're going to get a long arm quilt frame, get some good cushioning to step on, to
Yeah.
stand on. I know you've got some nice stuff, and I couldn't really afford that, so I went to Lowe's and bought that
Yeah.
puzzle piece
Oh,
stuff, and it
that
works
works.
great.
Something cushy. That's all you need. I agree.
Yes,
Because
yes.
you don't want to stand on that hard floor for a long time. You'll start to
No.
hurt. Yeah. Cushy
Yeah.
floor. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much, Joanna. I appreciate you letting us be
Thank.
nosy.
Oh, you're welcome.
All
I
right. All
enjoyed
right. We'll
it.
see
Thank
you.
you so
We'll see you in
much.
the clubhouse.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So I am going
To close out of that, and we will, let's see, we're going to talk about some of my favorite things right now. And I've got some new bolts of fabric that just came in that I wanted you to see. For all those Tula Pink fans, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but this is her new wide back. And this one is called Cotton Candy. And it reminds me a lot of the marbling that you could do with paper and paints and oil. It's really swirly and fun and interesting. And it would be even fun if you quilted, you kind of followed the lines in the actual fabric and quilted those and used filler designs. So that is that's Cotton Candy. That one's new. I wanted you to see that one. And then she's got a blue purpley version of that same fabric, and this one's called Daydream. So it's the same idea, just in the blues and the purples. And then we do have a new, another new one that came in. Oh, it's heavy. This one, I love this one. You know, text on fabric and text on patterns is super popular right now. This one is called Be Mindful Friendship Fabric. And so it has all kinds of, it says, words are easy, faithful friends are hard to find. A friend is someone who knows all about you and still loves you. A friend is the family that you pick. And there's just all kinds of little sayings on here that are just super, super cute. And anyway, text is super popular, and this one just came in. I think you'd like it. And then I did want to share with you, I do have a coupon code for you if you're interested. It is on rulers. So these are, let me move the machine over and hopefully you can see it a little bit better. So I've got a variety of machine quilting rulers. These happen to be boomerangs, but they're all 15% off. There's a coupon code there on your screen. It's QJ Rules, and it's 15% off all machine quilting rulers. And that is good through April the 10th. So if you're looking to pick up some rulers, you might want to take advantage of that coupon code. Okay, so I am going to show you, we're going to walk through how I would quilt a quilt if it were my quilt. And I asked people in the clubhouse to submit a quilt top so that I could draw on the quilt top and show you what I was thinking for a quilt plan and kind of get you rooted in how I think through attacking a quilt top. So we'll ask for submissions each month, and then I'll pick one. So you might, make sure that you're kind of popping into the Quilt of Joy Clubhouse there on Facebook. You could also email them directly to the website. It's just, I'm just going to pick one though, and it'll be a surprise which one I pick. So here's a surprise. Okay, so this is Sarah M's quilt that she posted and asked for help with. And I love this quilt. It's so dramatic and graphic, and there's so much places to play. So the first thing that caught my eye was the snail's trail, the dark side of the snail's trail. And so I wanted to try to come up with some ways to do that. And so I really wanted to add a swirl, add this movement, this spinning movement to each of these elements. So the first thing that I thought of was to put little feather plumes in here. So I'm just going to draw these. Now I'm using a drawing program on my computer. Most computers have some sort of drawing program. This one's called Paintbrush. It's free. I can bring in a photograph. I can draw on top of it. I can, save that and pull it up again and draw something else, and I can just start to kind of audition ideas. So this was my first inkling, was to put feathers in each of these areas. Now, if you notice, I'm not worrying currently about how to connect these. Yeah, I can zoom in. Zoom in. So I'm not super concerned at this point about, let's see, I was there, and then I think I had a plume here, and then I'm going to head down. So I'm not super concerned at this point of finding the continuous path. I just want to kind of get my ideas out first. If I start worrying at this point about a continuous path, I'm going to get kind of locked up in my creativity. So I just want to kind of have a sense of where I'm headed, and then I'll try to connect all these pieces together to come up with that continuous path. So I'm going to switch over to show you. So that's what it looks like with feathers in all of those snail's trails. So let me zoom in again, and hopefully that'll help you kind of see. So that's what it all looks like in all of those dark side of the snail's trails. Okay, so then I started looking at this light side of the snail trail. So do you see how the sashing bisects this light snail's trail inside here? So I wanted to start to think about how to attack this light snail's trail. And so I want to give it a little bit of structure because there's a lot of spinning. So I wanted to get some ditch work done here. And so what I did is I just started here, and I came down the ditch, and then I swooped up into this and just did a curl with a circle on the end, and then I just put a little filigree there. I just went up and down. So I'm going to come down to here, and I'm going to dip in, and this is a half square triangle. Essentially it's a triangle. It's just like what we were talking about. So I did that double dip, and so I did two. Notice that if I do an even number, I'm going to return to where I started. So I did up to here and then back. So that was two passes, and I returned to where I started. And then what I find interesting is where this square here intersects with the square the darker one is sitting on. And so I really wanted to emphasize that. So I went in to travel here, and then I want to do the same thing on the opposite side. So I'm continuing the line of that square so that these two blocks basically overlap here. So I went in, of course I would use a ruler, and I would need to mark the meridian line here so that it's not wonky like this, but I'm just drawing, so you get the idea. So I'm going to go back to here, and now I need to travel. So I'm just going to echo that till I get to this side. And now I can tackle this. So again, I'm going to do the swoopy part first. So swoop in, return, travel, swirl, back, little kick out, head back down. Again, I'm going to go continue this block's line, and then I'm going to continue this block's line, and then I'm going to travel over and keep on keeping on. Travel down, swirl, kick out, head on down. So I'm going to keep on going until I reach the end. Now when I did that, let's keep on going. So I want you to see what happened. So I got to here, here, and that's why drawing this out is going to help you kind of think through some things. down, swirl, back down. All right, and so with this last portion, so I got to that, and I'm like, well, that's an interesting way to travel around, but this is totally unquilted, and there needs to be something here. And so I thought, you know, really, I just want to introduce some straight lines here. And so what I started thinking about doing was, what would be awesome is if as I traveled around this space, once I got to, so I did this first part first, this one here. Once I ended here and I had a friend here opposite this corner, I would go straight across and back down. Keep on going until I get to here. Oh, sorry, keep on going until I get to here. I have a friend across, so I'm going to go across, and I'm going to keep my ruler right there and head right back down. So that line will have 2 passes of thread on it, so it'll be a little heavier than the other lines, and I want that because it's going to add a lot of dimension and a lot of structure to my quilting. When I'm over here, I have a friend on this side, so it's ready for me to connect it down and back up and continue on here, and it has a friend on the opposite side. It's ready for me to connect it down and back up. And so repeating this across is going to give me some interesting structure to the quilt. So let's take a look at what that looks like, because I've got it all drawn out to show you that. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So there's those blocks that we just talked about. And I've erased the feather side of it, right, so that you can see it a little bit better, but that's what we just drew out. So when I got to this point, I started thinking about these areas here. Now remember, these have feathers in them, right? So let's do this one. So these have those feathers in them, yeah? Remember that? Oh, that feather kind of went wild on me. So those have feathers, yeah? So I wanted to be able to do something with this block, something with this sashing. And what occurred to me was, when I'm here, if I just go straight line out to here, I can travel and I can head back and continue on with this element, right? So that when I'm here, I can travel and I can head back and I can continue on with this element. So essentially, when I was, if you remember, when I came around and I did this box, and then I said we can travel to the other side, rather than traveling on the inside, that's when I was like, oh, I could travel on the outside and catch the sashing inside where the feathers are. So then I started thinking about this little block here, and I thought, well, what would be simple? If I'm coming into the midline on each side of this block, what would be a simple way to treat this? And that's when I thought, you know, just a square and a square kind of thing. So I would just go from here to here to here to here and call it done. And I would probably do that on the first pass, so that if I forget, you know, the next time I pop up, I could get it done and head back out. And so that would allow me to get the inside sashing area of these feathers worked out. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so this is where I've done that same, where I've traveled out, I've done that square to square, and so each time as I head around this block, I can kick in and pick up the sashing space for each of these negative spaces. And the other thing I thought is, well, while I'm here, you know, these are major junction points. So let me just circle them. This is a major junction point, and this is a major junction point. So I thought, well, while I'm there, while I'm hanging out there, I can kick over and start my plumes. And so I don't have to break my thread. I was like, that is how I can travel. So that's why I say sometimes if you can break the elements out of what you're doing, and then you can start to see how to travel to get yourself there. So when I come back here to this point, I could do this long pivot and then head back down, feather, 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 plume, head back down, head over. This one would go out to there, head back, and now I'm ready to do my next feather. Okay, so that is how I would work on getting this done in one continuous path. Now, we tend to think of that as some kind of game show that we win like a big cash award if we can figure out how to go across the quilt without a thread break, but I'm telling you, if you don't figure it out and you need to do a thread break, who cares? Speaking of thread, I would likely choose some kind of cream cafe au lait color and do that over these darker areas because I think it would look stunning. I would choose a skinnier thread, like a 60 weight, just because there's just a lot of thread going on there. All right, so let's take a look at what I did in that outside border. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. And I'm just going to move up to this corner so you can see it. Okay, so we already talked about how when I'm in those major junction points, I pop out to that meridian line of where this piecing seam intersects with the border and then head back down. So all of that will be done. And then for the border itself, I just repeated that square and a square on point in this corner. And notice it's also repeated here where each of these kicks out. And then my thought was, okay, now how do I connect these square and a square units? So here's one, here's one, here's one, and then that corner was one. How do I connect them? And that's when I thought, oh, I could just do a diamond to connect it. And so if I want to stitch this all out in one giant length, I can do my square and a square, just a portion of it, and then go up, right, and keep doing these diamonds all the way across my quilt top with as much throat space as I can reach, and then head back the alternate way. And I get these diamonds with the square and a square accents. And it looks like I forgot one right here. So see this corner? See, I forgot this side of the diamond. So I would go down to that meridian point. So if you look, there's a light triangle from here to here, and I've picked the meridian point between those two, and then I'm going to head back up to that corner. Okay, so let's take a look at the whole shebang with the feathers. There we go. So looks pretty good, doesn't it? When I finished this, I was like, ooh, now I want to quilt it. So let me zoom in. All right, so there's that upper left quadrant. And I'm just gonna pan down so you can see the whole quilt. So I like this because the sashing gives a lattice, strong, linear backbone to the curly, swirly feathers that are in the snail's trail. So I hope that you like that, Sarah. It's a lovely quilt. You don't have to do what I drew. You do what you like to do. But I hope that kind of spurred your imagination and got you thinking in new ways about how to break down a quilt, how to make a quilt plan, how to not worry about that continuous line until you get a little deeper into your design motifs. All right, so I'm going to flip over on my computer, and we have some show and tell items that were posted there on Facebook in our Quilted Joy Clubhouse. So we're going to drool a little bit over some items that people posted. So Regina F. posted this picture of her quilt, and I like the springy colors. It just reminds me, it looks very joyful and fun. It looks like she did an all-over edge-to-edge design. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's an all-over edge-to-edge design. So good job, Regina. Now Liz was at an event that we had here with Linda Herskra last week. And she did a lot of, or I think it was 2 weeks ago, she did a lot of ruler work and feathers and traditional quilting, and Liz went home and played, and I think she did a fabulous job with her feather wreath and that background filler behind it. Mary Ann made a table runner, again, using some of the concepts that she learned in that class from Linda, and this would make a fabulous border, don't you think, for a large border, really great. Shirley posted this. I thought this was amazing. This was all wool. So it's pieced with wool, and all that is, the curly swirly stuff is all embroidered. And so she really did a great job of echoing each of the blocks out and elevating the piecing and really making it the star, and then putting the piano keys and the linear quilting behind it. Just a great job, Shirley. Bill posted this one. These were all over edge to edge in nice pastel-y Easter colors. Very nice sashings kind of intersecting those those square to square blocks. Really good job. Kathy, this one made me laugh. She's doing fabric collage quilts, and this one is her llama. I like the little butterfly perch there up on the bum of on the llama. Really cute. Nice job, Kathy. Paula put up these two. One is, it looks like a t-shirt quilt with a checkerboard border and basketballs. I think that's basketball fabric bordering it out. And then a really nice patriotic quilt. And I love, if you take a look at how she did her sashing, she's got a kind of a flag waving in the wind with some stars in there. So it looks good, Paula. Holly posted this one. It's got feathers just all over it. It's just an all over feather design, whirly swirly, crossing over through and under blocks. Very lovely, lots of movement, really beautiful job, Holly. Susan, I love the way that you really thought about that polar bear and how you were going to kind of add fur and texture and you know, how that fur would travel. It all influenced how you put the line, the quilting line on that bear. Really good job. I love how you filled in the leaves and everything that he's there surrounding him. Nice job, Susan. So if you have a quilt that you would like to share, I would love to be able to share it with everybody else. Just post it there in the clubhouse, and we may pull it in so that we can use it for our show and tell time. So do join us over there in the clubhouse and post that if you've got some finished projects you want to show off. Okay, so next month we are meeting on May the 1st, again at 1 o'clock Eastern. You can watch it as a live stream on our YouTube channel as well as in the Quilted Joy Clubhouse on Facebook. If you can't join us, it'll be recorded and you can watch it later. Generally, it takes us a few hours to get that recording back online, so you won't be able to watch it necessarily right after we're done, but a couple of hours after that. So take a look, and we will be talking about a square and a square unit next time, and multiple ways of how to quilt a square and a square, and I'll have a downloadable worksheet for you there as well. So do join us on Facebook. We're also over on Instagram and Pinterest, so we like to post what we're working on and what's going on in our little world. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw I got to hang out with some baby penguin chicks yesterday in an orangutan. So you have to go to Instagram and see that. But thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next month.